Hey guys, as you can see, we're doing a buyer's guide today and we're going to be looking at the Wolverine. And so as usual, we'll be looking at the accessories that each figure comes with, how they compare to any updated versions, and how much you can find them for on eBay. And as you can see, I'm wearing a 3D printed helmet that I actually printed myself. So if you're interested in seeing more 3D printed content related to action figures, helmets, comic books, etc., then let me know in the comments below. And otherwise, stick around and we're gonna get right into it. So we're doing this in release order and we are starting with this Wolverine. This is from the Jubilee wave in 2014. The reason why I started with this one is because this one doesn't have the ball joint hips. And there is a previous release without the ball joint hips either, but this is basically just a repaint of that particular mold. So this is what I'm going with because it is the classic yellow and blue colors. And otherwise, it fits in reasonably well with the modern style of Marvel Legends. Otherwise, this figure doesn't actually come with any accessories. Everything that it has right here is what you get when you get them. And if you do get them, then you'll find them for about $25 to $30 on eBay. Next up, we have what I like to refer to as Brown Verine. And this is the classic brown and tan version of Wolverine's costume. This one we got in 2016 as part of the Juggernaut wave. And the only accessories that he comes with are a pair of fists. And this Wolverine you'll find on eBay for about $35+. The next release would be a retro version of that first one. So this is effectively the same thing, but we do have different colors. So as you can see, they are different. The tan is pretty close, but the brown is really different. And as you can see on the retro, we even get some hair on his arms painted on. Otherwise, the molding is exactly the same. But what's nice about this one is that it actually comes with a civilian head. Now, you might be interested to see if the civilian head actually looks like our previous civilian head, and it looks to be pretty much exactly the same. And this makes a lot of sense because at the time we're still kind of figuring out all of their molds and engineering. So we're going to see a lot of reuse here, and this is the first bit of that reuse. And so the other accessory besides the civilian head is the unmasked portion of that. And here's how he would look with the swapped out mask and civilian head. Now, as you can see, because the colors are so different, you can't use the unmasked piece with this Wolverine because the browns are just way too different for that to work. Additionally, this one doesn't come with fists, so using the first one's fist won't work either because the browns are just too different. And our retro Wolverine you'll be able to find on eBay for about $35+, which is the same as our Juggernaut Wolverine. Next up, our Old Man Logan. And I believe at the time there was actually a pretty major Old Man Logan story happening, so that's why he looks the way he does here and not in the original Old Man Logan storyline. He comes with 0 accessories, but he does look really cool. This jacket was also really popular at the time because people were taking it and adding it to Cyclops before the version of Cyclops with jacket came out. Otherwise, it is a pretty cool body, and we don't get a ton of civilian bodies in general, so this was a really popular one for a variety of reasons. In any case, you'll be able to find this one on eBay for about 15 to 20 bucks. Next up is our Tiger Stripe Wolverine, and this one was pretty popular and really sought after because it's really kind of the classic Wolverine that most people are familiar with and interested in getting the costume of. And this one came out in 2018 as part of the Apocalypse wave. As you can see, he looks great. He's effectively just a repaint of the Brown Verine, but with added shoulder pads and a slightly different belt and a new head sculpt. As far as accessories go, he only comes with a pair of fists, just like the Brown Verine. And yeah, still definitely a solid figure today. And this one you'll be able to find on eBay for about $30. Next up, from the sort of defunct subline of the Riders figures, we have Logan, or Wolverine, or whatever you want to call him. And this one is another civilian body, and this is a pretty popular body as well. White tank top, jeans, boots. It's a good one. We also get a different head sculpt this time around for Wolverine. This one is kind of weird looking in my opinion. I feel like his eyes are a little too wide apart. But maybe that's just me. However, he also comes with this great patch head. Although this one also, I think, has a slightly weird molding with the eye patch being as low as it is. Maybe that's accurate to the character of Wolverine as Patch, but I don't know. In any case, he doesn't come with fists, but he does come with a pair of hands that are open gripping hands. and they are to grip the handlebars of his motorcycle. So the motorcycle isn't especially special in any kind of way. It's not like branded with Wolverine or anything. Not that it's supposed to be. I think we get some other variants of this throughout the Riders line. This is the same base that they used for the Ghost Rider one as well. And you should be able to find this Logan for about 40 bucks on eBay. So as I was editing the video, I realized that I forgot this Wolverine. So here we are now, and this is Days of Future Past Wolverine. So specifically, you can see that he is using pretty much the same body as the Old Man Logan, and the difference being that we've got this holster and this gun, and as far as I can tell, there's only one Wolverine with this gun, and the only Wolverine with any gun. The claws are pretty standard. The head is a reuse from the Riders line, with the difference being, you know, the hair being painted like that. So pretty straightforward release there. As far as accessories, it only comes with gripping hands, and that's to grip the gun. So this was an Amazon exclusive that came with the Sentinel that you can see back there. And as of right now on eBay, you're gonna find this for anywhere from $30 to $50 for just the figure. And if you're looking for the set, you're looking at $150+. Next is the classic Weapon X Wolverine. So this one was part of the Caliban wave in 2019. And as you can see, it's got a lot of really neat and very specific, very unique details for this particular figure. So, you know, as much as people will complain about the reuse that Hasbro does, we all know that, you know, any for-profit company has to do a lot of reuse. So it's nice when they do these unique parts that we don't see anywhere else. So this one doesn't come with any alternate fists, which is fine because as Weapon Wolverine, he'd probably have his claws out the whole time. But he does come with an alternate head, and the hair is gigantic, which is perfect for the era that they did the storyline. And it's different from the previous Wolverine heads. And if you are gonna swap this out with this one, then this one, you just pop this bit off, and then you can pop off the head and swap it around. And this doesn't actually detach from this, so this one will kind of just, you know, be around, which I think is still fine. This Wolverine you're gonna find on eBay for about $30. Next up is X-Force Wolverine from the Wendigo wave in 2019. So this one has no alternate hands or any accessories, but the thing that really stands out for me on this one are the different claws. So this is the first time that we get claws that are shaped like this. The other claws that we have all been this style. And it's okay, but I've never really liked this style of claws because while they look fine on the Weapon X one right here, the motorcycle one is all messed up. They don't always like form very well or stay in position where you want them to be. So I've never been a big fan of those. And we unfortunately don't get these claws a whole lot throughout our various Wolverines, which is a bummer. Now this is not the first X-Force Wolverine that we get, but it is the first one that we get on this particular body mold. The previous one is an SDCC exclusive, which I don't have here, but I'll put a picture up on screen right now. But as you can see, it's pretty different, especially the head sculpt. And it's not one that I'm too worried about getting because I already have this one, which is my preferred one for the X-Force version of this Wolverine. This one you're gonna find on eBay for about 20 to 30 bucks. Next up is Cowboy Wolverine. I don't know if this is like from a particular story or just a particular look of Wolverine with a cowboy hat. Now he's effectively a repaint of the motorcycle Wolverine with obviously just a black tank top instead, but it's still a good looking release. Now, like I said, the claws, he does come with like the regular old claws, not like the nicer X-Force claws. And he comes with a pair of gripping hands because he comes with a red katana. I don't know why he has a red one, but he does. This was a fan channel release in 2019, and he also comes with this alt head. So it's another screaming head, but it's still actually different from our Weapon X head. The hair on this one is a little bit more of the modern style relative to the Weapon X version. And this Wolverine you'll be able to find on eBay for about $20 to $30. So this one is from a retro wave of X-Men figures in 2019, and they consider this a samurai Wolverine. So as you can see, he's got this like black paint on his face, sort of like a mask. I don't know if that's actually supposed to be paint like in the comics or if that's like some kind of bandana or something that he wears. If you know, then please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, it's a pretty standard body. I think this is the first release that we have of Wolverine that doesn't have like regular boots the way the other ones have them, you know, like with the fins coming out the sides, or even in the style of the X-Force ones either. These are just, this is a really like kind of plain bodied Wolverine, but I think the idea is kind of stealth. In any case, he comes with a pair of gripping hands so that he can grip his own katana. This is our second Wolverine with a sword. This one at least is a little bit more explainable than our Cowboy Wolverine with katana, but this one is all black, as you can see. Pretty straightforward. Most of the swords in the Legends line are pretty much the same thing, same mold, different colors, so nothing really special there. And otherwise, this Wolverine you're going to be able to find for about 20 bucks. Here we have a very important release. This is the first appearance Wolverine. This came as a 2-pack with Hulk in 2019. And as you can see, it looks pretty much like the Tiger Stripe Wolverine, but we have different shoulder pads, a very different head. Otherwise, the claws are exactly the same, the boots are the same, the belt's the same. And it's a very different yellow than what we've seen previously. And don't worry, later on, we're going to compare all of the Tiger Stripe Wolverines. This Wolverine doesn't come with much outside of a pair of fists. And I think a close-up shot of this head is nice to see. And it's just so different. Like the black lines, I don't know if those are intended to be whiskers on the original design, but it's definitely just so different from our modern Wolverine. But it's still a really cool release to have. And this Wolverine you're going to be able to find on eBay for about $40. We have yet another Tiger Stripe Wolverine. So this one is part of a 3-pack with Cyclops and Jean Grey. It's called the Love Triangle. And as you can see, it is effectively the same release as the others, but we have a very different head sculpt. So not only is the face different, but he's got a pretty battered like mask. So we've got damage there. His hair is coming through there. He also comes with a regular head, but why use the regular head if you can use this one, especially if you have multiple Wolverines anyway. He is also the first Wolverine to come with 3 total heads. So we have a civilian head here. Going back to compare it to our original, it looks very similar, but I think these are different molds. So that's cool to see. What's also really cool and very unique about this release is that he actually doesn't come with fists, but rather bone claws. So these claws are specific to these particular fists because they don't come out, at least not easily. And if you're not familiar with the storyline, then he gets his adamantium ripped out of his skeleton and he uses just bone claws for a while. And he also comes with the unmasked piece that we've only ever seen once previously with our retro brown Wolverine. Now this is a much deeper, darker blue than what we've had on our other Tiger Stripe Wolverines, and I think it's the deepest blue that we have on any of the ones that we'll see upcoming as well. But in any case, this one you're going to be able to find on eBay for about $50, and I think that's primarily because of the bone claws. Next up is our second Old Man Logan, but really kind of the original. So this is kind of what he's supposed to look like. He's supposed to have the big trench coat. Otherwise, he is effectively the same release as the previous one in terms of the molding. The jeans and the upper body are the same. It's really the difference of the coat. Even the head is the same exact mold, except this one comes with an alt head. And why not include that extra head without the hat, as opposed to making a second version of this without hat? This is just cheaper to do, but also kind of a bummer. In any case, he comes with a pair of reaching hands and a baby Hulk. I'm not going to explain that. You should read it up yourself. This one was originally a 2-pack with Old Man Hawkeye that came out in 2020, and you'll find him on eBay for about 30 bucks. Next up is Age of Apocalypse Weapon X Wolverine. So this one is a pretty unique situation because of the hand. He famously is missing his hand, even though he's got a healing factor, and let's not get too deep into the weirdness of explaining that. But as you can see, his head is very different. Not only are we getting an entirely different face sculpt, but then we've got this really wild hair, which I think is pretty accurate to what we see in the comic books. He doesn't really come with a ton of accessories. The only thing he has is an alternate cylinder thing for his hand, so that if you don't want him to have the claws out, then that's a thing you can do. This Wolverine came out in 2020 as part of the Sugarman wave, and you're gonna find him for about 12 to 15 bucks on eBay. This new brown Wolverine came out in 2021 as part of the Tri-sentinel wave. And what's nice is that this is actually one with kind of the better claws. It's interesting because they're not like as wide as the X-Force ones, but they're pretty close. Close enough to me that I like this style of claw better. And it's interesting because this is our first smiling Wolverine. Kind of weird, a little creepy, but it's fun to have different heads. He also comes with the Weapon X boots instead of the flared out boots. It's a nice update of the brown style of costume. He does come with an alternate head, and this head actually has a bit of chin hair on him, which is also really interesting. I didn't read this era of comics, So I am interested in knowing more, but at the moment I don't really have much to tell you guys other than it's a neat look. It's nice, it's different. I like different things, so this is cool. Now this one you're gonna be able to find on eBay for about $30. Next up, as part of the VHS wave, we have another Wolverine. And what's neat about this, besides the cell shading, which I know not everybody's a fan of, although I have made how to remove the paint in video form, which I'll link up here if you're actually interested in doing that. But this, while very close to the previous Tiger Stripe releases, there's a couple of really interesting differences. The first one, which I think is pretty obvious, is how much wider his fins on the head are. They come out left and right much more, and as opposed to our previous releases, which like they're more kind of back like that. So this is supposed to be animated accurate, and this is supposed to be comic accurate, and I think they both kind of fit those pretty well. The other major difference with this Wolverine are the claws. So this is the first time we get these kinds of claws, which are weird. They're not bad, but I think they're probably more animated accurate than the other ones because they're more cylindrical than our previous releases that are more like knives. Now, what's also interesting about that is that in the comics, they went back and forth a lot with having kind of cylinder type of like stabby metal poles coming from his hand versus having actual like knife type of claws like most of the other releases. And that was all before we got an actual origin story for Wolverine, so that's why they had so much back and forth. But I think that also might explain why in the animated series it's more of this cylindrical style than not. Also probably due to the fact that it's a cartoon for kids, but there you go. In any case, as far as accessories go, he comes with gripping hands so that he can grip the picture of Scott and Jean, and that's to replicate the meme that has been around for quite some time. Otherwise, he comes with this solid angry head, which looks pretty good. This Wolverine you'll be able to find on eBay for about $40. Next up is a kind of a half brown Wolverine, and this one is part of a box set of 5 total figures, all Wolverine related characters. This is surprisingly only the second release that we have with him that doesn't have a shirt on. So what is nice is that they did all these paint apps to show that he is, you know, battle damage. Even his face is really beat up looking. Like even the red eye is really cool. Scrapes on his face, around his mouth. The head is great. I really like that a lot. But if that's not your style, then he does come with kind of a more standard Wolverine head. No cuts or bruises there. And lastly, he does come with a pair of fists. This Wolverine you'll be able to find on eBay for about 25 bucks. Our next Wolverine came in 2022 as part of the Bonebreaker wave, and this one is a pretty big difference, at least in terms of like a kind of style of costume compared to our previous releases. But otherwise, the mold is our standard Tiger Stripe Wolverine mold, right? As you can see, besides the head, we still have the shoulder pads, the torso's the same, the legs are the same, the boots are the same. It's still basically the same release, but we have the nicer claws, and these are reddish clear because at this point in time in the comic books, he was able to like make his claws set on fire or something kind of strange like that. I'm not fully aware of all the details, but I know it's something along those lines. And he comes with no accessories, but he does come with an alt head. And this head appears to be the same head as our shirtless Wolverine, just a slightly different skin tone. This Wolverine you'll be able to find on eBay for about 25 bucks. And now we have Uncanny X-Men Wolverine. This one came out in 2023, just last year, as part of kind of the third retro wave of X-Men figures. So this is a very different body for our Wolverine, and this one isn't totally like reusable for other characters because this is designed to be specifically Wolverine, and what I mean by that is he is short. So otherwise, we have pretty standard claws here. The head is actually pretty different. I don't know if we've had a lot of calm looking Wolverines, not smiling or smirking, just kind of a calm, straight-faced Wolverine. It's nice that it's different though. And he otherwise comes with a pair of fists and an angry alt head. So this one you'd be able to find for about 20 bucks still. Next up is the 97 wave Wolverine. So this is a sort of a re-release of the VHS Wolverine, but sort of not either. So this one is actually really different and unique in the sense of right here. So our previous Wolverines don't have the top of the hips painted the way that we have them here. Usually it's just the crotch that's painted. So this is more like he's wearing briefs than he is wearing kind of, you know, the underwear style like, you know, superheroes wear. Also interesting is the skin tone is really different. It's almost kind of like a light peach or an orange. But we have a really different head sculpt, which is actually really nice. It's a good looking head sculpt. It's different from a lot of the other ones. I do like that the hair is like kind of slicked in a particular style, which is kind of cool. A lot of the Wolverines, it's a little bit more rough, which is also fine in its own way, but I do like this one. It's a little bit more styled. He also, of course, comes with a masked version of the head, and this is pretty much the exact same release as the VHS one. I don't know if the dots on the face are like a factory thing or if that's by design, but because there's no pattern, I don't think those are supposed to be there. If you know, then please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, he only comes with a pair of fists. Now, this one does have the same claws as the VHS one, and so far that makes only the 2 Wolverines out of all of these ones that we have that come with the more kind of cylindrical bone style claws than knives. This one is tough because it's a recent release, but they are difficult to find because of the interest in the 97 cartoon series that just came out. So in an ideal world, you'll be able to get this for a retail of, you know, the $25 that it's supposed to be. On eBay, they're really going for over $60. And now we're getting into our most recent releases. So these are all 2024 releases. And we're starting with Cowboy Wolverine. This one was part of a 2-pack with Sabretooth. And he's a pretty different Cowboy than our previous release. So really it's only the bottom half that's the same. The top half, the claws, the head sculpt are all entirely new. And they look great. I think the Hasbro did a great job with this. What I really, really like though are the new style of claws that we're getting here. So these look a lot like the style claws that we have from the live action movies with Hugh Jackman. What I mean by that is that these look way more like actual knives than our previous releases do. And they look great. So not only do they look that way, but these came out of the packaging looking perfect like that. So I don't need to do any kind of heating to bend them straight or anything like that. And I really enjoy that. We get an alt cowboy head for him, which is kind of hilarious and goofy. And they look pretty much the same. I don't know if there's enough difference between the two heads to really warrant the existence of both, because in one he's slightly smirking and the other one he's not making any real expression at all. So it's kind of weird that they're, you know, including both. Otherwise, as far as hands go, he has these two. One is an open reaching hand and the other one is a gripping hand. And he would be gripping playing cards. I don't know if we have any other characters that come with a set of cards like this to hold. This one even says Xavier. For whatever reason, the X-Men have Xavier branded playing cards. Okay. So this one, again, is still brand new and you should hopefully be able to get for retail as of this recording. Next up is probably the most different Wolverine of all of the Wolverines here. This one I believe is Brood Wolverine, so I don't know if that's like him being taken over by the creature or the creature looking like Wolverine. If you know, then please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, this is part of a 2-pack with Lilandra. This looks pretty much exactly like our previous brown Wolverines do, with the obvious exception of the Brood features, so the arms and of course the face. Although interestingly, we have the cylindrical claws on this one and not kind of the more standard older claw style over there. And he only comes with a pair of fists. So like with the other 2024 releases, it's still pretty current, so you should be able to get this for retail. Next up is a second Samurai Wolverine, and this one is a 2-pack with Psylocke. I mean, this one, I don't know, it feels pretty straightforward as far as releases go. I think it's nice that we're getting a different head sculpt here as well. The face is different, the hair is a little bit different, and it is nice that we've got some blue highlights in the hair. That's unlike most of them, with the exception of the original Samurai release. Unlike the Samurai release though, we actually don't get a sword this time. We do get a alt head with him smirking, so that's nice to see, and a pair of fists. As with the others, this is a current release, so hopefully you can get them for retail. This is Patch. This is from our 2-pack with Joe Fixit / Grey Hulk, and he looks great. This is the first Wolverine that we've ever had with a suit, and he thankfully comes with the newer style claws that our Cowboy Wolverine has. I mean, his articulation is going to be a bit limited because he's in a suit, so the jacket's going to prevent him from having the type of articulation that most of our other Wolverines do have. But he is a great looking figure. We have a second head for him where he is smirking, Interesting how many smirking Wolverine heads that we now have. The patch placement is, I think, a lot nicer than the previous patch placement. And here's the previous patch head so that you can really see just how different they are. And the new one is definitely much, much nicer. While this is a current release and you should hopefully be able to find it at retail, I suspect the price on this one to go up since this is such a unique release of Wolverine. Next up is our Fantastic Four Wolverine. So this is part of a 2-pack with Spider-Man. And he looks good. I would say pretty plain release. I mean, the paint looks nice, but unlike most of our other Wolverines, we don't have any kind of texture on him. We don't have like the flared out boots. We do at least have the nicer claws. I do like that. But these are like the X-Force claws and not the newer claws that we're getting with the Cowboy Wolverine, and a pretty standard head. Now, he doesn't directly come with like alternate hands, but at the same time he kind of does, because in the packaging, the hands are kind of like split in between the two of them, and so you can use either with either character. Even in the promo pictures, they do show Wolverine using the fist at some point, but like the fist that it includes is a smaller fist than what he actually has for his own hand. So I'd say this is kind of meant more for Spider-Man, but they fit. Like, they definitely fit. You could even use the web hand for Wolverine if you really wanted to. It fits just fine. It doesn't look too far off in terms of like sizing. Obviously, if you looked really close, you could see it is a little bit small for him, but it's not the worst. But really the most important thing is that it fits and the color matches perfectly. So if you really want to use the web hands, then you can. And otherwise you can use the crawling hands as well, or just plain fists. So like with the others, this is a current release, but I do expect the pricing of this to go up as we get closer to the Fantastic Four movie release. Finally, we come to our newest and latest Wolverine. So this one, I don't know where the costume comes from, other than it being, I believe, just the latest costume that he has in the comic books. And it looks great. As you can see, this is an entirely new mold for Wolverine. We've got lines in the costume now. We have padding on the boots, padding that follows on the gloves as well. Everything that you're seeing is pretty much all new, at least as far as I can tell. If you know differently, then let me know in the comments. It's a great looking release, and the claws that we're getting are actually the newer style claws that we have with our Cowboy Wolverine, and I like that a lot. It's a good looking Wolverine for sure. And this is a Wolverine with the most number of alternate hands. So we get a pair of fists, and we have this open reaching hand, or maybe a slapping hand, depending on what you want him to do with it, and our very first pointing finger, which is kind of cool. We also get a very different alt head for him this time around. This is a pretty different civilian head for Wolverine, but it looks really nice, and I like it. This, as I said, is a recent release, so hopefully you'll be able to find them for retail pricing. Now let's do some comparisons. So here are all of our tiger stripe Wolverines, and as you can see, the yellows are pretty different. So our first release is almost more of an orange than a yellow. Our first appearance Wolverine kind of has probably the brightest yellow here. These two yellows of the VHS and the 97 version are actually pretty close to being the same. And then our blues are all pretty different too. So our first release blue is really more of a teal than blue. As I said, our Love Triangle one is a very dark, kind of a navy blue. And then we have the blues of our VHS and 97 are also just their own thing as well. Here's our Bonebreaker Wolverine, since he is blue and yellow as well. And here's our latest release Wolverine, just as an additional comparison. So it's interesting to see how much closer this yellow is to this yellow over here. Not that it's, you know, a big deal or anything, but it's just interesting. And let's go ahead and include Uncanny Wolverine, since it's also blue and yellow. So that's how all of those look. Here are all of the brown Wolverines, and as you can see, the browns on all of them are pretty different. So really, I think we're seeing kind of three different browns here, because the browns on these two actually match pretty closely, that I think if you wanted to swap parts for some reason, you could and get away with that. But I don't think you can mix anything from here with anything over here outside of maybe the belt if you really wanted to. And here is our other new brown Wolverine, just for an additional comparison. Here are the two Samurai Wolverines. I would say that the newer release is much better. However, you don't get like the covered eyes like you get over here. So if that matters to you, then you know, you might want to get the head for this one, or at least paint this one. But I think this overall has the better mold and the better just face sculpt. all around a better figure over here. And those are the Wolverines. If you need another buyer's guide, then you should really click right here.